So let me move to the segment 2, the unfinished revolution. So, according to Deloitte's 2026 State of AI in the Enterprise, worker access to AI rose 50% in 2025. And the number of companies moving AI from experiment to production is expected to double within 6 months. So the pace of deployment is accelerating. The process foundation is not keeping up. And there's a similar question that has come from Vijay Sabarwal, but I'll pick that question later on because we might be already covering some of the points that his question is about. So I'll pick that question after DK's response. But Shiva, we'll start with you. While I talked about this research, there's another research that shows most procurement failures begin at demand origination and specification, long before a supplier is in the picture. So you build procurement processes at various organizations. So what are those 2 or 3 points in the early procurement chain where small and mid-sized Indian enterprises lose the most value before a single rupee is spent?
Yeah, I think, let me draw my experience from Tata Steel as well as from the Airtel and Indus Towers. There are, while the procurement has 10 different types of masters, we will discuss that a little later. There are 3-4 reasons the procurement actually very famously fails. See, the most important is if the organization is not designed their procurement processes, the first important visibility is the spend visibility. The visibility of the spend is extremely important. Typically, the classification of spends in between raw materials, consumables, and spares, the clarity of item level specifications is the next very important things. And the third one, what DK was mentioning about the bill of materials, is extremely important. Typically, what happens is, when these spend visibility is not there, you don't have the ability to segregate the spend and get the volume impact for you. Similarly, if you don't have the specifications, bill of material, you don't have the benchmarks for this item which you are going to procure, the should be cost. These are the elements typically the procurement always fails. Yeah, Vish.
Okay, so that's where the leak starts before the process even begins. So DK, let me go to you, and you have talked about the technology that was supposed to fix this and why it keeps repeating the same failure cycle. So you have seen, you have implemented ERP from the 1990s and watched every technology wave that followed. Each wave, MRP, ERP, Cloud P2P, and now AI, which has arrived with a genuine promise and left behind a graveyard of unfinished transformation. So what is the pattern that keeps repeating? And what would have to be architecturally different for AI to break that cycle?
Yeah. I think the good point that you talked, Vish, is what is the pattern that keeps repeating? Because if it is not repeating, then why it is a pattern? Okay, it is a pattern for the reason because people continue to make the same mistake again and again. And I'm seeing that for last 30 years. When we started building our own ERPs, and then we saw the flagship ERPs coming into the play. But the kind of failure that we have seen has a lot of similarity. That means that how it is disconnected from the process and from the data is the major cause of the challenge that we continue to see even till date. And I believe that if we don't set that right, we will continue to see the challenges in the future as well. So if I have to really look at, we need to clearly have that visibility as to what is the process that we have, what is the matrices that we are trying to work on. Okay, what is the outcome that we want from the system, and whether my systems are not broken below the surface that we are talking about. Many times you see that ERP is there, or we have multiple systems supporting in an organization. Now, it is not a measure for the success when we have the multiple systems. Or even if we have a monolithic system, that doesn't mean that it is able to resolve everything. We need to really map all these systems to the business process that we have, and what part of the business systems or the processes that are not getting mapped to any of the business system, that is where the hole is. And when there are such holes, when the process is broken or when the systems are broken, we start to get into the challenge. That is where the whole issue begins. I talked about the bill of material. Now, if the challenge is within the bill of material itself, there is no system that is going to help resolve the issue.
Yeah.
With AI, there is hope that AI can recognize what is the pattern. And if you resolve that as an issue, AI can continue to prompt that, okay, if this was the challenge, how do we go and resolve that? And we continue to work on that particular problem until it is resolved. Okay. And that might be an advantage that can come with AI, but the issue with the legacy data or issue with the legacy system needs to be resolved. And that is what is the mistake that we should not continue to do in the future also. Otherwise, it doesn't matter what AI we put, okay, or artificial intelligence we put, it is not going to solve the issue. With Gen AI, yeah, we can find ways in responding to the RFQs better, okay, or looking at RFPs better and having a good proposal. But if we are not able to address the basic challenges of the data and the broken systems, we may continue to have similar challenges going forward as well.
Yes, yes, absolutely. And because most of the systems earlier were primarily used as system of records. Those systems, these systems are still being used as system of records. But AI may add a system of action on top of these, systems.
Correct.
Which are being used.
And one thing that we need to keep in mind, which is what I mentioned when I spoke earlier, to the point, that with AI, if our systems are not going to be built for change, then it is going to be a problem. Then there is no real advantage that we are getting from AI.
Yeah.
Okay, because the marketing plan will continue to change, sales plan will change, production plan will change. There will be many things that will be unforeseen. You are ordering it from hundreds of your other vendors and ancillary units, and they can also go wrong. Okay. Now, if we are not built for change, if our systems are not built for change, if artificial intelligence is not enabling us to be ready for that change, then that would mean that we will continue to repeat the patterns that we have been living for many, many years.
Exactly. Yeah. So let me pick this question that has come from Vijay. How does AI help procurement through projection of demand across geographies, production capacities across geopolitical happening, constant changes in tariff, trade agreements, alternate drop in availability, future pricing, best freight arrangements, etc. So his focus is a chemical universe. So any
Or do you want to respond to that, and then I can come on that?
No, I think DK, you should take this question.
Okay. So, I talked about one way by which artificial intelligence can help is building the system that can change the behavior, keeping in mind what is changing on the floor. Now, I'll give one example. We are working for a logistic company, and one of the biggest challenge was the last minute change in the orders. So that was the biggest challenge that they used to have. And I'll keep it brief. We turned it around and we said that, can that be a statement of differentiation? That means that you build your systems keeping in mind that the last minute change will come, and your systems are able to handle it in a much, much better way. And you collaborate with your other partners very well in order to get the capacity that is required for the third-party logistics. After they implemented it, it became actually a statement of differentiation rather than a challenge. Similar part that we need to play with every single system, not only the procurement, whether it is supply chain or whether it is procurement or it is, inventory management or production planning and control, whatever it is, we need to really look at whether we are trying to solve the challenge that we have been facing for a long time, and artificial intelligence can play a big role in that. So one part is really looking at building the system for change. Second is, for example, really bringing in all the systems that are coming to the play. For example, Shiva talked about the spend analytics. There are systems now who can help deliver better spend management.
Yeah.
SAP's Ariba is there, which essentially helps you collaborate with your partners and with your vendor ecosystem. Okay. Now, do we, use that very, very effectively or not? And now even those systems are also enabling the artificial intelligence within that. That how can we continue to look at the pattern and continue to improve upon that? But if you look at the entire piece, there is a one element that I'll put a finger on. That do you have the visibility of what you already have? If you do not have the visibility, then that would mean that we are not having a firm base based on which we are looking for a transformation. If the visibility of your material, if the visibility of your bill of material, visibility of your process or business systems is not there, then that can become a challenge. The first layer is always that how do we manage the visibility very, very effectively? And second piece that I will talk about is the standardization. That every single system in the supply chain or in the manufacturing sector has to be driven by the standardization that we can bring in, because it has to repeat every day. And if it has to repeat every day, the only thing that can repeat is the standardization. So can we standardize our process? Can we standardize our systems? And can we standardize our ways of working, our service providers, our vendor ecosystem? The moment we continue to standardize, that would mean that we are able to optimize that to the best possible extent. I think those are some of the pieces. I know in this short call, we can only talk about and touch upon those systems, but there are approaches to really look at the visibility, look at the standardization so that we can scale in the future. There are approaches that are required in order for the organization to implement.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, when you talk about the standardization, I was just wondering how this standardization would apply to market forces, say tariff, changing tariff, disruption of supply chain. How would all so of course the AI system has to be prepared with certain scenarios so that it can provide that kind of a analytics and decision intelligence when you have a very disruptive market forces working behind your
Correct.
organization.
And the reason I talked about the standardization and also AI for change, two in the same answer is that till date, all the ERPs or the processes, they were all focused on the standardization. And it is required. It is not that it is not required. But artificial intelligence is brought up in order to really look at change that sits on top of the standardization. Because the processes that are standard are very good for ERP, but the process need to be simultaneous and also predictive in nature going forward when we are talking about artificial intelligence, because artificial intelligence will look at how it behaves and decides based on the change that is coming on the fly. So both have to coexist, because if standardization has not happened, artificial intelligence will again fail because your data is not on a firm ground based on which it has to talk about.
Absolutely. So yeah, if scenarios have been built, then scenarios have to be actually supported by your past data too. Otherwise, these scenarios may hallucinate or give you something, some different context altogether as compared to your entire company state. Okay, so let's go deeper. In fact,
I
we
wanted
have
to
got
add
one more
here
question.
one point, Vish.
Sure, Shiva.
So actually, the most important, if AI has to thrive, it has to thrive on the base created by the processes. I was mentioning earlier, there are 10 masters, which is extremely important to procurement process to work smoothly. The first one is a vendor master. The second one is the item master. And third one is bill of material. And fourth one is the contracts, what we are signing with our vendors and their KPIs management. And the fifth one is the price and the should be cost benchmark prices of the item which you are going to buy. And the sixth one is the demand. The DK spoke quite a lot about changing demand. What is the weekly and monthly and yearly, quarterly demand of a particular product, particular lines? What is the lead time of procuring those items? What is the approval and delegation matrix of the procurement process? And what is the cost structure, tax structures of the particular product which you are going to buy? And what is the supplier performance criteria, KPIs, how they are getting governed? All these 10 are extremely important. And over and above that, the market is quite dynamic. The operations are quite unpredictable. There will be changes on a fly, on an everyday basis, or a weekly basis. But those changes, according to me, and probably DK has to watch for that. And AI can able to handle it very efficiently when these masters are in place.
Correct.
Yeah.
And the challenge is that even the master data management is not implemented in a lot of organizations. And if that is not there, as I said, that the whole system is not standing on a firm ground.
Absolutely.
Correct. So there's a similar question that has come from Nishan, but I'll pick that question after the question that I have for Shiva and DK. So let's go a little deeper in the procurement life cycle, where execution either holds or falls apart. And there's a question to Shiva. So in your previous organizations, say Indus Towers or Pace Digitech, you were running P&Ls of hundreds of crores, where procurement decisions had direct operational consequences. And across the procure to pay life cycle, pricing, negotiation, execution, and supplier performance, which stage breaks most consistently, and why does it keep breaking despite years of investment?
Very wonderful question, actually. It's very context specific question, I wish, actually. Let me deep dive into my experience in Indus Towers first, and then get into Pace Digitech. See, Indus Towers is a procure to pay cycle is completely matured and very stable. Demand planning is very strong and very predictable. Sourcing and negotiation is structured. It's completely benchmark driven. And execution is completely SLA driven. So the failures in Indus Towers, because of Indus Towers, is quite less. But even then, the failure happens. Typically, failures in the very structured environment is because of the ecosystem failures. The ecosystem failures typically classified into two cases. One is about failure because of our suppliers. Second one is failure because of the logistics issues. And the third one, if I have to add, because of the dynamic situations, what is going to happen in your environment. Right now, we are under tremendous disruption because of the Iran Middle East war. So if I have to say that, in Indus Towers is completely structured. So the failures are periodically external driven, not from the internal driven. But let me take example of the organizations which are in a scale-up environment. There are startup organizations, they are not matured, processes are not matured. The most important failure almost happens because of the procurement under pressure. That is the first point. Second one is, if the organization does not implement it in ERP systems, then all the masters which I have spoken are not aligned properly. So when these are not aligned properly, then accident can happen from any of the corner. On top of that, we have even though we have ERP systems implemented, many of our data are resides in our Excel sheets, in our emails. So that also adds to the problem. So to sum it up, if organizations are matured, processes are well established, the masters are established, and they are continuously, constantly updated, the failures are typically ecosystem dependent. In the organizations which are actually on a rapid expansion phase, they are continuously building their organizations. Production setups are getting increased day by day. New products are getting introduced. In such kind of environment, if the masters are not seamlessly updated and integrated, the failure can happen from any of the corner. The most important failure happens a procurement under pressure. Yeah, Vish.
Okay. So I'll combine my question with what Nishant has shared. So please share an example of AI agents autonomously analyze trade-offs, run sourcing events, generate options continuously, covering PR to PO, and vendor comparison, etc. And there's a second question, or I think it's a comment to when we are talking about prediction. So prediction of what to buy, when, and what bed sizes. So DK, maybe we can start with you because I actually have a similar question to you in terms of
I think
how
there
technology or AI can.
Sorry, I interrupted, Vish.
No, go ahead, please.
Okay. Now, I was just saying that, yes, there are numerous AI agents being built. But just because it is an AI agent, my advice is that that doesn't mean that it is going to solve your problem. Okay, be very careful from that perspective. Having said that, yeah, there are so many AI agents being built. But yes, these are all the patterns on which one should think of building AI agents that can work autonomously and also decide what is required to be done. There are two ways the way agents are being written. But most people think that we will give that data to the AI agent and it will give us some result. Okay, and then we'll work on that. No, well, that problem was solved by technology many years back. Nishant's second question on, let's say that talking about predictive analytics, or how can we predict something, what to buy, when to buy, how much to buy, okay? That problem has been solved by predictive analytics many years back. So if somebody said that now I need to have AI agent on top of that, well, it is a analytics issue, okay? But the piece that we need to look at with AI agent is that are we letting the AI agent take a decision? Okay, that is where the gap in understanding is that I'm seeing in the industry. That we are not asking it to process some data and give some report in return. But the ability of AI agent should be that they look at the data, they look at these are the 10 ways a problem can be solved, and this is the best possible solution or best possible path that we can take and solve the problem and take a decision. For example, if a client comes and says that I need a quote for these 3 items, would you let the AI agent send the quote, the best possible quote, to that client or not? Now, there is a possibility that the first time or the second time or the 10th time, you will validate whether the quote is correct or not. But once you got the confidence, you will make it independent that from now onwards, I don't need to look at that quote. So far, this is the guardrail. So far, it is validating this guardrail. It will be able to answer that call from the client on its own. I think that is where the AI agents come into the play autonomously. Nishant has mentioned that also, that it is taking the decision autonomously. So yes, whether it is with the trade-off or sourcing events, okay, all that can be done by using the AI agent. But what we need to look at is what is the path that we will take in order to mature the AI agent in taking that autonomous decision and reach that stage. That path need to be defined very well. Now, this is not the same old process. Okay, this is the path that we need to decide for the AI agent specifically so that we are able to really convert that part of the process into the decision making.
Absolutely. So I have a similar question that has come from Nishant Kanda. But before that, Shiva, do you have any point to make here to the question from Nishant Burnwal?
What Nishant is asked, can the AI can do the autonomous activity? So it's not a problem at all to structure the AI agent to act as per whatever processes organization has set up. But the most important is, have you set up the processes for it? Let me take an example. So if you don't have, imagine I'm trying to buy a bearing from the market. So specification has to be tightly structured, and the cost benchmarks has to be tightly structured, and the supplier environment has to be selected. Imagine there are 15 suppliers who can supply the bearing. The specifications are given and benchmarks are given, and AI can do a nice job in evaluating all the proposals from these 15 suppliers who wants to supply the bearing, and they can compare the prices and then select the best supplier basis the cost benchmarks which you have given into the process, and can directly place the order to that supplier if your ERP is integrated with the supplier environment. That can automatically happen. That's not an issue at all. Let me give you one example. In long time back, when I was in TCS, we transferred procure to pay entire process from Europe to Mumbai. So this is somewhere around 2007. In 2007 itself, that it was a largest chemical manufacturing company in the world. To my surprise, when any supplier submits the invoice is automatically processed basis the PO value as well as the invoice value. The PO value and invoice value, the difference is between plus or minus 5%. The payment happens automatically. So that kind of automation happened in 20 years back itself. So with the current environment which are in AI and AI agents, these automation can be done easily, but provided the biggest important point is, have you all the masters up to date? That is the most important point which you should keep in mind. Yeah, Vish.
Thank you, Shiva. Yeah, that's a very good point. So yeah, masters are